Welcome to Backstage Pass on the Boise Beat, where we dive into the stories behind the music that moves people. I'm your host, Gordie Tamayo, and today we're having a fantastic band joining us all the way from Hudson Valley in New York. They're known for their intense and evocative blend of alternative rock and phenomenal stage performances, known none other than Sound of a Smirk. They've been making waves due to their songwriting, powerful performances, and so much more. We're going to talk about their journey, upcoming album that's getting produced this year, and so much more. Brooklyn, inner city, right? Or city type feel,
Yeah,
right?
city. Yeah.
Straight up city. Yeah, and I'm a farm boy, so yeah, night and day.
It's fun
That's cool
stuff,
though.
though.
Mm-hmm.
Hopewell Junction. Nick lives in Fishkill. Pete lives in Peekskill. And then Brian lives in Carmel. So it's like all these little towns that are just all over the Hudson Valley. But
Yeah.
we all just drive like half an hour and we're like directly there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah, I
it's
was gonna
it's
ask, how do you
fairly
guys connect?
yeah, it's fairly easy. Like we practice at Nick's house, at the drummer's house. We kind of built like a mini studio down there
Uh huh.
where we do like a lot of demoing and stuff and in on the interim like between records.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So you guys just built just an in-house studio over there at his pad, huh?
got like a double rack of like Focusrite. We mic everything.
Yeah.
We tried to make it as easy as possible. So
Isn't it a
it's
trip how like things have changed? How you can actually do that, right? You can have an in-house studio. You can have decent gear versus what it used to be. I mean, I know you guys are going into recording another album, your fourth album, at the end of the summer and whatnot. But years ago, you couldn't do what you're doing now with an in-house studio.
no way. Yeah, nowadays like the ease of like DAWs and like just digital processing, of
Hmm.
all of that just being so prevalent. When it was reel to reel and like tape recording, it very different feel, I would imagine. So
Sure. Yeah, I
yeah.
think nowadays, obviously, you're getting in there for the expertise of somebody, who sound engineers, they know what they're doing on that front,
Oh
and
yeah.
just having people to manage that so you don't have to focus on that and you can play and stuff. But yeah, it definitely is a trip, how things have changed over the course of 20 years in the
Oh yeah.
music space. I mean, even be able to get your music out and distribute it, is something else too.
Oh yeah. It's
What
vastly different.
What's
there
Pete.
up?
there he is. What's up, Peter?
How much? How's it going?
Pretty good. How you done?
Good, good, good.
Well, thanks for jumping on here, man. Appreciate you joining
Yeah,
us.
of course.
Yeah, so Peter, bass and vocals is what
Yes.
you run.
That is,
Okay. So how do you guys cross paths, by the way? Like, how did this all come about with you guys and the other fellas here?
I mean, like I entered like the same music scene that Jesse was in. I mean, Jesse, I think had already been established by the time he and I met. Yeah, in quotes, but it
Uh-huh.
sounds good. And I think the first time we really hit it off was my band was playing the same show that Sound of a Smirk was, my former band, and we just played Super Smash Bros at the merch table together, and
Nice.
it was a great time. And I think we just had like a blossoming friendship from that point forward. And I just happened to see the Sound of a Smirk guys at a show, and they were down a bassist at the moment. And I was like, hey, if you ever need somebody to hop in there, I'm more than happy to jump in. And he said, how about in 2 weeks? And I said, sounds great.
They're like
I mean, that
yesterday.
is that
Yeah,
is basically yeah.
that was a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you guys been running and gunning ever since then.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about your influences as well. I mean, obviously, as a bassist, I'm guessing that some of your influences, I mean, they may kind of bleed over to what Jesse's are as well, but we all come up a little bit different. And so my understanding is that most of you come from the Hudson Valley area, or at least currently living there, right? And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah, share with me a little bit about what your musical influences were growing up. Like, who would you say influenced you the most to you know one, pick up music, b, experiment with the type of music that now you're dipping into.
Personally, I kind of grew up like the first thing that I was listening to was rap growing up in Brooklyn,
Uh-huh.
and then that rap being expanded into like Linkin Park
Yeah.
That was like the first time that I was like, oh, I want to do this. Like, I remember seeing Chester Bennington and being like, oh, I want flame tattoos on my arm, and I want to like scream into a microphone while a bunch of people are like just jamming around me.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting influence wise. Like, biggest thing currently, and like my favorite band now would probably be a emo band from Long Island called Brand New. And that whole Long Island scene is probably like the biggest influence on a lot of what I like to write and like kind of form. Yeah, like emo 90s and 2000s emo was like fantastic. Sunny Day Real Estate, Brand New, Armor for Sleep. Like, there's so many bands that I could just name. Probably my biggest influences is definitely like 90s, 2000s emo and just being sad all the time.
Yeah. What about you, Peter?
I think the first band that really inspired me to just pick up an instrument was Green Day was probably the first, and then like Blink 182 shortly thereafter, and then it was just a rabbit hole. Every now and then somebody be like, "Oh, you like that band? You should check out this band," and then I just dove straight headfirst into like Jesse was saying, that like mid 2000s emo, and that's kind of what got me through middle school and high school, and to this day a lot of those bands are still my favorite bands. I think where Jesse really fell in love and headfirst with the Long Island scene, I went a little bit further west into New Jersey. And like the central New Jersey PA bands are really what always held me, and that was like the early November and more recently the Wonder Years have definitely more heavily influenced the way that I go about writing and constructing music. And so that's I think more recently is just like the evolution of that era and genre, and that scene in general, and how it itself has changed over time has also changed me with it.
How would you say that your introduction into playing now with Sound of a Smirk has influenced both the writing process and the outcome of what your actual music comes out and sounds like? What would you say that influences?
I'd say, I think from a performance standpoint, energy, 100%. That's something that that's like kind of one of the staples of my theology when it comes to music is, as far as a live show, no one's going to care if you missed 10 notes as long as you had a great time doing it. And they had a great time watching you. That said, I do practice a lot and try to minimize those notes that I miss. But as far as the writing goes, I have a different ear and taste than Jesse. We do cross in a lot of places, but I think where we differ in our writing style is where we've really been excelling recently in writing this new record that we've been trying to polish up and finish off. I wasn't always a bass player. It's just something that I picked up and really loved doing.
What'd you do before that?
I was a guitarist.
Okay.
But I have big meaty hands, and it makes playing guitar a little bit more difficult. So for me, playing bass and also bringing energy to a live performance they go hand in hand, where I can I have bigger frets, bigger strings. I can hit the notes a little more easily than I could on a guitar. So I have a slightly different perspective than your general bass player, but I think that I bring a little bit of a heavier vibe, like music wise. I think I push Jesse and Nick and Brian to just put more of the energy that we feel for these songs into the songs themselves, and let the song speak for how we feel about it. And just really, like, if a song makes us bop our head, well, let's bop our head and make everybody else bop their heads with it, and let's move.
Personally, coming off of what we were writing and like how we were performing for quite a while before them. Brian himself, fantastic guitarist, but really, really exemplifies in like how energetic and like how much stage presence he has. Where no ill will, but like our previous members were they incredible performers when it came down to musicianship. They were very boring to watch. And being someone who was super into like the energy of like the emo and the pop punk scene and like that kind of stuff, and seeing shows, like I love going to hardcore shows. One of my favorite bands is Every Time I Die and like Under Oath. And we just were so far from having a fraction of that kind of energy. Brian took that and he doubled it. And then Pete came in and he doubled that. And it's just this exponential growth in like how we perform and how we mesh together.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I have so much fun on stage. And I couldn't honestly say that I've never like felt that way. Oh God, how long? 14 or 15 years that like Sound of Smirk has been a thing.
Wow. Yeah. So with these live shows, because that's one of the things that, you know, you're alluding to, and what I've read about as well, is, you know, what this looks like and how audiences are impacted by it. What would you say is your favorite, you know, part of the live show experience in and of itself?
Mine personally is genuinely just interacting with people on a human level. Like there's nothing better than looking dead into somebody's eyes and just like seeing them having the time of their life while I'm just doing the thing that I love.
Yeah.
And it gives me the energy I need, you know, at the end of a 3-hour set to push through that last song and just and really have a good time. The more people I've had more people come up to me and tell me that they had the best night of their life in the last year than ever before in my life. And it's a beautiful feeling to be the catalyst to that.
I could not agree more. I think it's really cool that like we finally have hit a point where every show we see people. It's funny, we're doing a lot of these emo nights and we like to throw our original music in, and seeing more people latch on to the original music has probably been one of like the most fascinating things to be like, oh yeah, these people expect like an audience expects My Chem and Taking Back Sunday, and they want to scream the lyrics to their favorite song. And then when you see people bopping their heads or even singing the words to a song that you wrote, whew, that is like just hits.
Describe, if you could, for somebody who's never experienced it or never even been in that part of the planet, you know, because you guys on the opposite coast of us over here, paint a picture for me about what these emo nights entail, and you know, the orchestration of it, the bands that are present, the fans that come out, the people that are part of the experience. Paint me a picture.
Well, one of the coolest things that we've done is, at least personally, what I really love is like taking the presentation of this and truly unmatched in our scene with the way that we present ourselves. So we do, depending on the night, we do matching outfits where we have like black button ups, black pants, like blacked out with red ties, like emo makeup, sometimes painted fingernails. Like we want it to be, you're not coming to a live show, you're coming to like an experience, which is really something we push. We have our own lighting system that we pre-program to like kind of match moods of different songs, and we have like a remote system that we use for that stuff. So you're going into a venue being like, oh, you know, you go into an emo night, and to be honest, that's usually what you experience. Somebody just being, you know, pressing a button and being like, don't you love this song? Woo! We are a live band, and we want to bring that energy, the energy of emo music, to emo nights. I think that's
I
like our biggest goal.
Yeah, I think the main thing is like we want to pay tribute to the energy of the live shows of those bands that like inspired us at a young age to just get out there and or like, you know, fall in love with music in general, and specifically emo music, and just the, you know, the scenes and the close-knit community that it created. We don't want to be disingenuous by, you know, half-assing it. We want to give it everything that we've got, because that's what they gave us, you know, like 20 years ago in a lot of cases. And for us, it's you know, it's an homage to that era and that scene, and, you know, the way that it shaped us.
You know, earlier Jesse had made a mention, or both of you kind of already dropped this and said that, you know, you're working on a fourth album to get in studio by the end of this summer. But I also thought I heard you say something, or maybe it was me reading about it, with, you know, your third full record with Girl Part. And I think that there was some affinity maybe with that particular album, if I heard you right. And I wanted to get your input on that, like sharing the journey of what that was, the creation of it, and, you know, maybe why it was so impactful for you, etc.
It's interesting because Pete was not a member at that point, and it's when I think about that, it bums me out because I can't. I get like truly, I cannot say enough that like that record would have been bonkers if Pete and Brian were on it and like truly had some say in the writing. It's interesting because that record was, I was coming off of being a solo artist in like 2012, 2013, and then wrote a record with one of me and Pete's, both of our like very good friends, Chris, who drummed for me previously. And we wrote a record together in 2014. And that was kind of like splitting the difference of a full band and a folky kind of solo sound. Grow Apart was the first time that I went into it knowing that like it had to be everything that I like wanted it to be. And having Nick on that, we wrote those songs together and really like crafted what we were trying to do. Where by no means do I have any ill will towards that record. I truly do love that record. And I think there are certain songs on that record that we still play with Pete and Brian now that we are 100% going to re-record. I'm just going to drop that now.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you can re-record it.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a handful of those songs that we still love to play, and they are so fun. And we've just seeing the way that we play them from how they were recorded immediately already shows how like there's just such an expansion on the sounds that we were even doing back then.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember when you had first sent me the set list for that first show where I was just filling in. I took 2 days and I think I learned all of the songs, and I showed up to that first practice and I was like, hey, I've got ideas. What if we did this here and this here? And how about if we change this song like this? And you're like, this song is 8 years old and hasn't been played differently in those 8 years. And I was like, cool. Well, I'm going to do it this way. And if it sounds good, we're going to keep doing that. And it has sounded good ever since.
Yeah, it did.
Well, together, like, since it's been, relatively short window. I mean, obviously you guys cross paths in different capacities, knowing people, other bands, etc. But what would be your favorite performance to date that you could say that was the most memorable, both as a band together versus, what you were doing previously?
In the last year, we have had the best performances I've ever had, at least for me.
Yeah. As far as like actual performances go, I'd say that this, like, there's a bunch that stick out from this past year. I'd say the first or second time we went out to Pennsylvania to play in 4Ds, that
Crazy
blew my mind. As far as crowd reaction goes, I've got to say, I think some of my favorite shows still have to be like when we play like floor level shows. I say floor level, even though we're playing on like a balcony, but it's like people are allowed to stand in the balcony with us. I'll never get used to the energy of playing at this like eye level with another person who is screaming along with what I'm saying, and it's that reflection of energy that is just, it's a beautiful thing. I will say, like, I've played some insane house shows where like anytime the cops get called, it's a good time.
You like goal met, right? Check mark. You got it.
Yeah.
You got the popo called out.
I can still see it vividly. I had the like quintessential like 90s or like early 2000s movie band scene where you're playing in the driveway and there's people standing on the roof like dancing to what you're doing, and that was, I looked up and my life changed forever in that moment.
Wow. Yeah, that's phenomenal. Let's go back to what you guys shared about a little bit ago, and we didn't unpack completely the upcoming album. And obviously, for anybody that doesn't know, like getting ready to fully record an album and get that ready to roll, that's an uphill climb, especially when you're doing with multiple parties that are involved in the creation of that, right? Talk to me, the good, the bad, the ugly about this fourth upcoming album. Like, what is it titled, by the way? Does it have a title already? Are you guys still working that out? Are you gonna hold that? You gonna hold that?
Let's we're gonna hold on to that, but it has a working title. Yeah, we're gonna hold on to that.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Well, unpack to me the experience of doing it though. Like, how has that been piecing this together? Have you found it more difficult than other projects? Have you, found more passion in it? Like I said, the good, the bad, the ugly. Share with me the creation of this upcoming fourth album that you're getting ready to produce.
The roadblocks feel anxiety inducing, but when you finally get over that, it is one of the most like just fulfilling experiences when the four people can sit down in a room and look at each other and be like, dude, I think we nailed that.
Nice. Yeah.
I mean, it's been, we've had more moments where we've gone, yeah, no, this is it. Like, this is it. And we do it in a day where we like go over a song and we could even rewrite the entire thing in one day. And it feels like, I don't know, like magic. Compared to the issues of like, I don't know, man, maybe not this, maybe not that. It always feels like we can go, okay, pivot, work on something else, or even pivot, what about this idea, and then steamroll ahead like at 120 miles per hour. Last night we just basically like wrote a song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was it was a big thing that we didn't. A few practices we would bring the song out, we would try to work on it, and immediately go to something else. It like within 20, 30 minutes, we were just like, move on. Like,
it was the problem child for quite some time.
Yeah. But
yeah,
last night I feel like it finally clicked.
Yeah.
Nice.
It really did.
Oh, yeah.
This whole process from my perspective is very I think interesting, because when Jesse asked me to join the band a year ago, he had said, hey, so we have this album, it's written, we're gonna go into the studio. And I said, yeah, I heard what's written, I have notes. And I think I gave Jesse like an instant anxiety attack, and he was like, oh no, like I'm dealing with a head case. And then we sat down and he and I like talked. Yes, we talked in depth about every song, and I think I called you on your, any time where I thought that I was like, I think you can do better. And I was like, I know what you're capable of, and I was like, this is below you. And
it came out with one of you and I working together wrote easily one of my favorite songs I've ever written.
Yeah.
And it completely reworked, like, lyrically, some of the chord, like we reworked an entire song it was under 4 hours.
I think it was like 2 or 3 hours on a video call where I was just like, I just like called you and I was like, hey, get on the computer and we're gonna figure this out right now.
Crazy.
And we did.
Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like the dynamic that you got is it is open to criticism, right? You got drastically maybe different personalities, but you openly
100%.
are saying, "Hey, push each other to the
Oh
extreme,"
yeah.
with the
Oh
intention
yeah.
of excellence coming out at the end of it.
If you're not willing to get yourself pushed and push the people that you like, I love these guys, so like I'm going to push the people that I love to do 110% of what they can, and I
Yeah.
want to be pushed myself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think part of that probably stems from one, obviously, you got a passion for the music and for the art form itself. But what I've also been catching from you guys is you've been sharing about, these live show experiences, how fans are reacting with you, the kind of, the energy you get from watching somebody just absorbed in the music that you're putting out there and just rocking with you. Like, it sounds like the community aspect of it, or the people that are listening to your music, is definitely a focal point in part of the construction of this stuff. So, like, the messaging behind it, because obviously you guys spend a lot of time in crafting this stuff together. Like, ultimately, do you find yourself trying to construct a certain type of messaging that resonates with your audiences, or are you just sharing your own personal experiences and then trying to connect it to audiences? Like, talk to me about that thought process about the messaging behind your music.
Lyrically, I feel a little bit of both. I would definitely personally gear towards that. Like, you want to write from the heart, and you want to write from experience so that it seems genuine, because it should be the most genuine thing coming out of you. But there are definitely ways there where I using a vagueness to be able to connect to people and not make it so specifically. It's not about
Mm-hmm.
me, it's about
Sure.
outlets. Um Personally, that's just kind of how I look at it. I want people to listen to a song and be like, "Oh, you know what, man? Like, I feel that. Like that, they know how I feel. They know what I'm thinking."
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that really resonated with me when I was a kid, not feeling alone, and that's kind of like what emo so much was about. Was like, you're not the only one who feels sad, or suicidal, or depressed, or alone, or anything of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, it was also this, like, those same bands wrote songs that were like, you're not the only one that feels angry. You're not the only one that feels love towards, your friends, your partners, whoever it may be. And I think I think that playing these songs and those songs that, have resonated with us so much has definitely influenced the way that we've written and rewritten this record.
Definitely.
Because like, I think I know personally, from a lyrical standpoint, that song that you were talking about earlier, Jesse, that we rewrote, like, one of the stories was literally, like, one of the verses is just the story of us on a road trip, like, going to play shows
Yeah.
with our significant others with us. It just, and like that feeling of like appreciation towards another person for like seemingly putting up with something that, you're like, I don't know how you're dealing with this, but you're having a good time, and I love you for that.
Yeah.
And like that's something that I was like, I don't know if I don't know if anybody's had that exact experience, but I know that other people can appreciate that feeling of just appreciating somebody for a thing that in your mind is monumental, that to them is just part of the deal.
Yeah, that's interesting. Speaking of Jesse, you said something about the messaging being or can be ambiguous in a sense. I was trying to decipher what Sound of a Smirk means. Like, what's the story behind the name?
um,
I'll take that from here. It's a good little, it's, just it's a snort with a chuckle at the end.
I mean,
Okay.
I
There it
mean,
is.
truly, like, Sound of a Smirk is just supposed to be like the exemplification of music personifying attitude
Mm,
and personifying feelings. Like, a smirk is such like a weird kind of thing of mischievous but happy, but sometimes it can hold a lot of different meaning. The same with a smile. Smiles can be fake, and so can other expressions, and it's just supposed to be a personification of your insides and how you feel, and feelings that don't always have 100% of an explanation to them.
You know, aside from the upcoming project that you're going to be getting in the studio to produce here this summer, like what else is on deck currently right now for you guys? Do you got any upcoming shows that you're doing? Any other collabs? Like, what's on deck?
Where do we start? We have the sun is very bright. We have a ton of shows. If Pete, do you have a list in front of you by any chance?
I can pull it up actually very quickly.
I know for a fact we are playing in New York, everywhere from like upstate, like above us, to like Woodstock area, all the way down to like Yonkers, playing in Pennsylvania. And that's what we have booked so far, up until like September.
We have two to four shows every month, and like through September.
Dang. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you guys are keeping busy then, huh?
And that's between also taking a 4-day like stint in the studio. So we had to block out the weekend before. No way we're blowing our voices out. And then the weekend after the studio, we're going to be so exhausted. We just kind of wanted to like step back a bit. So it's a lot, but it'll be fun.
It will.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what's up. Well, this has been fun, fellas. I appreciate you guys joining me. Where can people catch you out online? Like, can you drop your social handles or anywhere else that these guys can catch you?
Everything is Sound of a Smirk. If you Google us, everything pops up at Sound of a Smirk, soundofasmirk.com. Also check out Unfazed Emo. That's our emo night. Yeah, that's our emo night brand. Unfazed Emo, and we're gonna be even after the record, we'll be balancing that, doing that as well as some original live shows and record releases and all that jazz.
Yeah, that's what's up. Appreciate it. Well, guys, thank you once again. Sound of a Smirk, Jesse, Pete, thank you both fellas for joining me. It's been a pleasure. Until next time.